Hello and welcome to Your Healthy Mind. I'm Karen Treaster with Never Settle Life Coaching, where we talk about all things healthy for your mind, your body, and your spirit. And today we're going to be talking specifically about NLP, about pure NLP, and what does that mean? And about linguistics and how words can make such a difference in your life, in your business. And we're going to find out from no greater person than a master at linguistics. And this is what I've always admired him. He is my teacher, mentor with NLP. And I just love his sense of humor, and his perception of words is amazing. So you do not want to miss this. And I'm going to go ahead and start the conversation in just a moment, but I'd like to tell you a little bit more about him. And this is, my guest is John Lavalle, and he is one of the world's most respected corporate consultants and trainers, and the co-author of Persuasion Engineering with Richard Bandler. John attended his first practitioner program in the early 80s and quickly figured out how best to adapt the technology of NLP into business applications. He gets results. No fluff, no theories, just get down to it and change. Ultimately, his business clients lower their costs and increase profits. That's the bottom line for businesses. John has a very strong background in human change technologies. He has held various positions in the corporate world, which he contributes to his vast experience in helping others to be successful, including sales, manufacturing, human resources, management, customer service, training and development, and organizational development. John is also the president of the Society of Neuro-Linguistic Programming for Richard Bandler, and manages the many trainers who have institutes around the world. And so welcome. It's an honor to have you here today, John.
Thank you so much, Karen, and it's my pleasure to be here.
It's great. I can't wait to hear all that you have to say, and love your hat, by the way.
Thank you so much.
Well, now that you're in Florida, right? You just moved
Yes.
to Florida. Maybe a lot of people know that. Some people may not.
Yeah, it was a long time coming. You know, I'm from New Jersey, grew up there, and it was time to get out of there anyway. And what helped us out a lot was we have a granddaughter. And,
wow!
Yeah, oh yeah.
Congratulations!
Thank you so much. She's all of a year and a half old, so there's no there's no comparing that to anything.
They're so precious. And I'm sure she loves to visit.
She's a hoot, not because she's my granddaughter, but she really is, seems to be extra smart and loves figuring things out, believe it or not. She'll watch things and study them like this, and she'll go watch you do things.
Wow.
And then she'll yeah. So that's what the big motivator was to come on down.
Oh, okay. So she's here already. They live here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Oh, yeah. They live down the street from us.
How perfect is that? You know, my granddaughter is in Germany, so I am really envious of you.
Yeah, I understand.
That's wonderful. Yeah. And so you just started up with Richard Bandler the sessions again. I mean, you've been with him, I know, for a long time, so I want to hear more about that. But you just restarted the sessions in Orlando, right?
Yeah. We've been coming down to. Yeah, I've been with Richard now for I'm gonna say close to 40 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I've known him for a long. I've trained with other people too, you know, over the years to see what was going on out there, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we've been here coming to Orlando for about 23 years now, doing our seminars in the U.S. We used to do them in California. You know, we've done them in other cities a few times, you know, here and there. But we decided to stay in Orlando to do them. Of course, we were virtually shut down during what we refer to as the Great Pause. And,
exactly.
Yeah, we did some things. We did some things virtually, of course, And now we're getting back to face. So this is good. And I expect everything to continue on in this fashion. I think a lot of people are just tired of this, whatever you want to call it. We call it the great pause.
The pause. Yeah. Time to move on, right? Time to just,
Yep.
let's get it going. Let's
Yep.
go.
Yep.
True. So true. So kind of take me back 40 years. Wow. And I want to hear a little bit about the philosophy about the pure NLP too. But how'd you meet Richard Bandler? How did that all?
Well, I learned NLP by accident. I wasn't looking for anything special. I liked grammar when I was a kid. When I was in grammar school, I loved grammar. I loved diagramming sentences, believe it or not. I know some people don't want to, they hate that thing. And
I believe it because I know you with words.
But I went to parochial school, and you got grammar lessons and handwriting lessons and the whole thing. It was quite a while ago. So I liked grammar anyway. And I was joined the ASTD, the American Society for Training and Development, because I became a trainer in a company. Before that, I did most of the other functions in the company, and except for like finance and accounting, things like that. So I finally made it into what they call I call it humming resources, the human resources department. And so I was a trainer. So I had to join the ASTD, no problem. And I started getting all these brochures coming past my desk. And then one stopped, and I looked at it and I said, the name on this thing was neuro-linguistic programming. And the first thing I thought was, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, nobody knows what it means.
No. People say, what do you do? My first response, I don't usually say, is anything I want, because if I say neuro-linguistic programming, then they go, what's that? Well, it's easy enough it's really easy enough to understand, but I think people like to overcomplicate things is really one of the problems. So anyway, I went to this one day. Oh, the other thing it said on the brochure was language and behavior and how they connect. And I thought, this is going to be interesting. So I went to this one day teaser basically, and 20 minutes in, I thought, wow, this is great. Because when I went into the human resource department at first, my boss said, you're not doing any training. He didn't hire me into the department by himself. The president of the company wanted me in there because I was going to leave the company. So that's simple. Okay. And because I was bored. And the president says, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I want to do different kind of training. I was already doing training. I'll even tell you, the company was Thomas English Muffins.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, those were my favorite, actually.
Yeah. Still mine, but yeah. So I was on the startup team. We started up 3 plants, 3 different bakeries around the country, blah, blah, blah. I really was getting bored. And the president said, how you doing? I said, I'm doing good. But listen, Mike, I'm going to, this is finished. This project's finished. I'm going to leave. Why? What did we do wrong? Nothing. You did nothing wrong, And he said, and I told him, I said, I want to do different kind of training now. And he said, oh, great. This is perfect, because the HR director's looking for a training guy, which in his mind, in the training guys, in the director's mind, I was not a training guy. Because I worked a lot in manufacturing, logistics, shipping, stuff like that, and he wanted somebody who he could represent and go to the world headquarters once in a while. And I was not that guy. No, I just was not that guy. I worked great with the Teamsters and all the working people, Anyway, so after 20 minutes in this teaser, I thought, wow, this is great. So I bought a bunch of the books. I was on another project, so I couldn't go to the program I wanted to go to. I ended up going to the practitioner program, cut a long story short. During that program, Richard was coming to New Jersey for 3 days.
Oh.
And I wanted to meet, there was another co-developer, by the way, another co-developer, actually, co-founder, actually, John Grinder. So I wanted to see either one of these 2 guys.
Yeah, so I just want to reiterate, John and
Sure.
John.
Richard Bandler and John Grinder
were the co-founders of NLP back in the 60s.
Yeah, late 60s, early, probably early 70s, or late 60s, early 70s.
Okay.
It was weird. It's weird how it all started out, They didn't know that it was going to be what it turned out to be. Richard said to me one day, he said, somebody just told me that there's NLP in New Zealand. And I went, yeah. And he said, well, when John and I started this, we never really thought it was going to go much past Santa Cruz. And so I said, well, surprise. So anyway, so Richard coming in for 3 days. So I went to the 3-day thing. People warned me not to go. They said, don't go. This guy's crazy. And I said, crazy's okay. I don't care if he's crazy. and blah, blah, blah. And I went to the 3 days and, and it was a short program, by the way. It was very one-on-one program with people. It was only 25 people in the program.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And Richard went around the room. So he'd go to you and say, so Karen, what do you want? You'd say, well, I always wanted a blah, blah. He'd go, okay, close your eyes. Bam, 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 bam. He'd do a quick hypnosis thing and then move on to, okay, you're done, next person.
Oh
And he
my
went around the room
gosh,
like,
that's great.
oh yeah. So I was thoroughly impressed with this, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I got started. So NLP, it's very simple. The most important part of the technology is linguistics. It's neuro-linguistic programming.
Mm-hmm.
And it's if you could, in neuro for brain and all the hardware stuff and software things, and then neuro-linguistic language, of course, and then programming, how we organize our thoughts. How do we do this in our head? Yeah, how do we do these things in our brain? How do we? And we don't realize we've been programmed. And I don't mean by the media alone. I'm talking about since we're born. How do we learn? How do we learn to walk? How do we learn to talk? How do we learn to process language? Things like this. And that really did fascinate me right from the start, because this is not something they teach in school.
No.
So, and I also knew intuitively that someone could say something, because I had a couple of good uncles of mine, like real uncles, I don't mean like just a Dutch uncle person thing. And they lived in the same house we lived in, because grandma was upstairs and who lived upstairs above that and blah, 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 Being Italian in New Jersey, that's what you do, right?
Right.
So, yeah. So, but I knew intuitively that someone could say something and really make an impact, where I'd stop and I'd go, well, that makes a whole lot of sense. I wasn't thinking, oh, you're just an adult, the heck with you, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. You just want to know. It wasn't like that. It was in some cases, but not usually, when someone could make an impact on my own thinking. Yeah. So that's how I got into it. It's really about how the brain works in language. I mean, how do they work together? If you can, I was reading something the other day, and most people have heard this, I don't know how many times before. Listen more than you speak. If you're going to be with someone else and you want to find out what's going on in there, and we don't mean just with their words, by the way.
Right.
When we say language, we're also talking body language.
Right.
We're talking nonverbal language. Not just their posture either.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Not just their posture, but there's other components to their language besides visual language. Their visual body language. You got their voice tone and all these other things, and how they use those. You can learn a lot about people just by learning to listen differently.
Oh, I learned so much. I know, just going to the courses and your eye movements and
Yep.
just all the different senses, and just to be more mindful of what we think about, or what we speak, and noticing that in other people, because you're right, you can pick up so much. Yep. From others, and not make a fool of yourself sometimes, or not offend somebody, if you just would pay attention.
Yeah, well, I'm okay with both of those happening, actually,
Yeah.
especially if it's happening, because the other part of it is most people are not aware of their own language, or when if they're having an effect on someone, they may not even realize that effect, because they're not even looking at the person.
No.
See, they miss a lot of information. I tell people this, and the language thing is so simple, but we're not taught, and it's worse today, as far as I can tell.
And so you like to keep it pure. So you just like to simplify it. Is that?
Yeah. We call it pure NLP for us, and that's our trademark, so people know us as pure NLP. Because over the years, let me say this: there's two major components or pieces of NLP. Mm-hmm. One is there are fantastic techniques, steps of doing things. Mm-hmm. We could one of the greatest claims to fame for most practitioners is they can knock out a phobia in less than probably about 10 or 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't require therapy, because we're not therapists, and I'm always clear about that. We teach people how to use their brain. So it's not that we're not going to cure them of anything. We don't do that. We teach them how to use their brain, so they can go to the top of the Empire State Building if they want to, things like that. Instead of there's a whole component about the techniques. The techniques are great, and I tell people this consistently. The techniques, which are so easy to teach, but it's dangerous just to teach the techniques, because then the person only knows the techniques, because the techniques will work every single time until the first time they don't.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they don't work, what happens? What are you going to do next? Because people don't know. So there are two parts of the technology, basically. One is there are some basic skills. That's the pure part.
Right.
You know, it's learn about the language, learn about some other things called like anchoring. You know, people aren't even familiar with anchoring. They don't realize how much anchoring they already do and how much anchoring already affects them. If if you're driving in your car and you come up to a red light, you automatically, basically, because you learn to do this, you take your foot off the accelerator, hopefully, and you put your foot on the brake.
Exactly.
But you don't think about that. You don't sit there and, oh my gosh, the light's red. Let me move my foot from the
No, it's all automatic.
Right. That's right. That's right. Because you program that to do for yourself when you learn to drive.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a whole lot, and then there are things that we call about, because people aren't, again, we're just not taught. Most people aren't even aware. You mentioned the eyes moving around, because that's when they access different parts of their brain to access information, But
Right.
there are components to that. So people don't realize they make pictures and that there are components to those pictures. But they don't realize what's going on with the voices. Where's the voice coming from? Over here, and not just verbally with the person they're speaking with, but their own internal dialogue is where is it in here in their brain?
Right.
And then if they learn about those things and learn to change those things, they'd be happier people, quite simply.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
I explain it like this. If you wanted to learn to bake a chocolate cake and you came to John's chocolate cake baking seminar, when you left there, you'd be able to make one great chocolate cake.
Mm-hmm.
And you could help other people make a chocolate cake. They came to you and said, oh, you know what, Karen, I want a pineapple upside down cake. You may not know what to do because I didn't teach you that in a seminar.
Mm.
Now, if I teach you all about ingredients first, not only just ingredients, temperature, humidity, elevation even, all these different things about baking and about ingredients, and then I teach you to make a chocolate cake, chances are, as an example, chances are, if someone came to you and said, you make me a pineapple upside down cake, chances are you'd be able to do that.
Oh, that's
Because
a great
you learn,
analogy.
you have skills first, it's almost like most people think hitting a hammer into a board is quite simple. And it ought to be, except nobody told you how to hold a hammer properly first. Things like this.
Yeah,
How do you hold a hammer? How do you swing the hammer? You swing it with your arm, you swing it with your wrist, blah, 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 blah. So it's the skill. It's the skills that are most important first, and then you can do just about anything. So, and you got to have a sense of humor. That's imperative.
That's the other thing I love about you. You
well,
make
you
it
do
fun.
too. You have a great sense of humor, and you know that. You have to have one. And,
you do. I just to be able to do this, and it's so true. I loved the one of the classes that I took was the DHE, the Design Human Engineering, and that to me was so interesting because it really got into organizing the brain.
Yep.
And that's just something, like you said, we don't ever pay attention to. And if we just put a little bit of emphasis on that, it could really just changes your world.
Spelling alone, just spelling, just teaching children how to spell, and we make jokes about, phonics and phonetics, because you can't use phonics to spell phonics, because you can't sound out every word and make it and spell it, because it doesn't work that way. So, but we have a strategy. We can teach children we can teach them how to spell probably in 15 or 20 minutes. That's a strategy. Mm-hmm. With really big words. We'll give them a big word that they would go, I can never spell that word. No, you're going to spell that word. Watch what happens. And once they have the strategy and they know how to spell, they can plug any word into that strategy. See, but again, it's the skill. You have to have that kind of strategy. And kids love these things, but it's very slow getting it into some of the schools, if anything, at all, because of who's running the agendas of those kind of things. Right. So we've helped more and grown-ups to spell. I tell you, I worked with the Teamster guys, and when they found out later on that we could do these things, they said, you can teach. Actually, they'd say, can you teach me how to teach my child how to spell?
Oh,
what they would ask me. They would never say they couldn't spell. I knew they couldn't spell. I'd read the reports.
They really wanted for themselves.
Yeah. You know how that works. And so I'd say, okay, so you want me to teach you how to teach your child how to spell? They go, yeah. I go, okay, great. Come on, let me show you how to do this. And of course, in that process, teaching them to spell, and then they'd be able to go home and teach their children how to spell, or whatever. So, I mean, those things have always fascinated me, but it's not, NLP is not as difficult as some people make it out to be. It truly, truly is not. You learn the basic skills, and then after that, and talk about words too, and sense of humor. A lot of it has to do with the neurochemistry of our brain. I'm not getting too technical here with neurochemistry.
No, please do. Yeah, I mean, you can. Yeah.
Yeah. Our brain, we run on neurochemistry. Our brain runs on neurochemistry and everything else, this kind of thing. And some of those things, they're just naturally occurring. You'll see more neurochemistry things going on now. We started teaching these things in the 90s, and people were like, huh, what? Now you see this neurochemist, this program, that program, teaching people about neurochemistry, which is great, because the basic elements of that are very simple to understand. When you tell someone when you tell one of the parents, you say, if your child is on, I don't care whether it's Adderall or any of those,
Yeah.
you better check out whether your child really needs,
or hypertension or hyper.
Right. Now I found out most moms take their kids' drugs. Okay, because what is for the child is the opposite. If they're over, the age group is about 14, but it has nothing to do with their age. It really has to do with their brain development. So where it helps the child do one thing, okay, which is basically to slow them down and give them more focus. For the parents, it speeds them up. Okay, so I tell them, I go, listen, and I always make sure there are doctors in the room that I can double check this with in front of other people, because I'm not a doctor. I don't have a PhD. I'm not a medical doctor.
Right.
And what little bit I know about neurochemistry is just enough to be dangerous. And I tell them, do you know that Ritalin and Adderall and all that, keep changing the name because the other one gets a bad reputation. Do you understand those are methamphetamines? And they go, what? I go, it's meth. How look on the labels.
Yeah.
How do you want me to explain it? I don't care what name they give it. And that's the effect. You're teaching this child how to take drugs. They go, yeah, but the prescription. I go, I want to hear about that. Listen, you're being fooled, and it doesn't mean all children need this. This has become like the neighborhood special. Well, Joey's taking it and he's doing better in school, so I want to take it. Then they go to the doctor, blah blah, all these things. And I don't think parents understand what this really is. A lot of parents. So we do get into a little bit of neurochemistry. So part of the neurochemistry is that if you can take a substance of some sort, okay, and change your chemistry, your brain chemistry, and some of your physical chemistry as well, your physiological, right, which really begins with your brain anyway. Then you can teach your brain how to do this without the substance. And wouldn't that be great? That whole thing.
Amazing, right?
Okay, and here's the basic premise. You've done this probably yourself with people. I've done it. Remember your favorite teacher, and they go, oh yeah, it was Mary, Sister Mary Jane or Mrs. Smith, in third grade. What'd you like about her? Oh, we had a good time with her. She was fun. Okay, that's where the sense of humor thing comes in. So we use it a lot in our trainings because we want you to stay in that good sense, positive sense. Right. When people say be positive, to me it means keep you laughing as best I can. Somebody say, what's a good example of that? I go, okay, my dad passed away many years ago. And my mom stayed home. Okay. She stayed home. She sat at the house. She didn't go out very much. And I had to get her to change her perspective about my dad passing away. I knew that. And I had no idea how I was going to do this. Mom's not going to sit down with me and tell me all her woes and tell me this and that. And let me do some work coaching with them. I'm not going to coach mom. That's not,
right.
That's not happening.
No, they're not as receptive.
So I go to her home one day and I walk in and she's sitting there like this at the table, I say, Mom, what are you doing? She goes, well, I'm sitting here. I said, I know that, but why, how come you just sitting here? And the next thing she gave me the line, I couldn't help it. She said to me, she goes, well, ever since I lost your father. I said, whoa, stop. You haven't lost my father. You know exactly where he is for the first time in your life. Now, she laughed. At the same time, being Italian, I got one of these on my shoulders.
You're right.
It's called a scapola. She goes, that's not funny.
Yeah.
So that was her. Now, this is the difference now. So that was her conscious response was that's not funny. her unconscious response was laughing.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted.
Thank you for
And
getting me out of this state, this mood, right?
right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Exactly. And then I took her out. I said, "Come on, let's go for a ride." And I took her out. We went and did a few things, and I bought her a phone. I said, I even said to her, I said, she goes, and I'm sitting here because someone's going to call me. And I said, "Well, who?" She said, "Not you, because you hardly call me." And I thought, "Oh God, I'm going to pay for this now." And so I took her out and bought her a phone. Now, while all this is going on, she's still laughing and having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all going in her brain differently. So now my mom, after that, created my next problem with my mom. She became what I would refer to as a gypsy. So that meant now she's out running around someplace going shopping, and I'm hoping she has her phone with her so we can call and check up on her. But that's all about the brain chemistry, because, and I understand, listen, I understand she was sad. I understand she was grieving. I understand all of those things. But I also knew my mom had a great sense of humor. I knew that, just growing up with her. And I thought, I have to, and she gave me the line. I couldn't have asked for anything else. When she said, "Well, ever since I lost your father," I said, "You haven't lost him. You know exactly where he is for the first time in your life," which really wasn't even true, but it was funny to her.
Yeah. But yeah, and you're able to find that humor and the power in that, to be able to get somebody away from that thinking and then to give them a new way of thinking.
It changes, if you can change your thinking, you can change your feelings, and you can change your life, really, quite simply.
Right.
And it's how are we, it doesn't matter how we're raised. I mean, I was going to say, well, some people are raised in a negative kind of an environment, whatever the case is. And so therefore they learn that can be unlearned. There aren't many behaviors that we haven't learned. We've learned most of them.
Yeah.
So they can be unlearned.
For sure. Yeah. But just focusing or being mindful about that is so important. So to get back, because you talked about the ADHD and the hyperactivity that kids have, adults have. I mean, we're all distracted, right? I mean, this is such a huge, huge topic. With our phones, speaking of phones, and everything else, it's like people can't focus anymore. They lose their focus. Difficult. And I know in the programs, you really brought awareness to focus. And can you speak a little bit about that? And maybe there's one thing that somebody could do to help with that distraction. I don't know.
Well, probably a bunch of things. I mean, we've learned to become dependent on our phones. Mm-hmm. That's number one. Texting, all these things, they're really nice to be able to do, but how much time do you spend doing these things in the day? So
how much time do you waste, right?
Yeah. Stay off the internet. Don't watch the news. We limit ourselves to watching anything on TV, really. If anything, we watch game shows so we can laugh and maybe work our brain a little bit. Mm-hmm. Facebook is a problem. I go on Facebook every morning and just say happy birthday to whose birthday it is. Otherwise, I don't make many comments out there. I use it mostly for business purposes. I have a few friends from way back when on there, but not very many.
Right.
And people spend too much time relying on all these other meetings.
Right. Well, I like how you have the boundaries where you do it in the morning.
You have to you have to start somewhere for yourself.
Right.
So it's really more than anything else is a discipline for yourself. My son with my granddaughter, this is going to crack you up. It makes me laugh. She's going to be some kind of an engineer or something like this because she really does love figuring things out.
Yeah.
So I mean, when she was 6 months old, she figured out how to open her gate to her playpen. Okay, and she wasn't even walking yet. But she watched her mother or her father open that thing every day for her so they can go in and play with her because they put a big thing up in her living room, right? And she's watching and watching. One day she pulls herself up. She's not standing yet. She's not walking.
Yeah.
And she puts her hand through this thing, opens this gate up, pushes the gate open, goes down on the floor, crawls out of the little area and goes, aha, like this.
Wow.
So now they don't like her to watch too much TV. They're very careful what she watches because of all the programming that goes on. Now, I'm not sure if this is a great idea or not, but the one program she really loves watching is there's a thing on YouTube called the lock picking lawyer.
The lock picking what?
Lawyer.
Lawyer. Okay.
Yeah. Lock picking attorney or lock picking lawyer, something like that. And he shows you basically how to pick all these different locks. She loves this program. We're not talking passively. She'll watch
What
this
a
program.
crazy program.
I'm thinking, why would you have her watch this?
I
You
know,
know?
right?
And they said, well, maybe she'll learn to pick locks. I don't know, but that's not
Yeah.
the point. The point is, it's better than watching all this other garbage that's out there, those kind of things. And she watches this program like this.
Oh my gosh.
Not like she's zoned out. No. Oh no, she's watching how to pick a lock.
And she did.
I'm waiting for the I'm waiting for the next step.
Oh, yeah.
So people when they say focus, I mean, if people aren't in the job they like, they ought to change. They ought to do something different. You do coaching, so I don't even know how many people you must run into. They're like late middle 40s go, I went to college to be an accountant. I hate being an accountant. I always did it for my parents. I did it because they want to be an accountant. I hate being an accountant. I want to do something different. What can I do?
Right.
So, you must run into a lot of that yourself, I'm sure. Those
yes, a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
Those kind of things. And I'm like, well, okay. Then go do something different. And they're all locked in. Who's got the golden handcuffs? They got a great, retirement plan, all those kind of things. But I think you got to take a chance sometimes, if you really want to have a different life, you got to change something. And, it doesn't have to mean you have to change your job. You have to change something. And I'm absolutely in agreement with you. People have learned how to not focus so much. We get distracted.
Mm-hmm.
Our attention span has gotten so short.
Yes.
For doing things. And I'm including myself on this, by the way. Sometimes I'll start doing things and I'll say, I got to remember to do this one thing. And I'll start to do this one thing and I'll forget to go back to the other thing.
Right.
So I almost have to start writing all these things down on a list for myself.
Mm-hmm.
When I go shopping and, I like to do grocery shopping because it's entertaining out there. And my wife doesn't care to
do tell. I'd like to make it entertaining. How do we make it entertaining, John?
Especially during this COVID thing. I call it the stupid market. And I'd go do the shopping. Mostly I didn't want my wife going after doing it anyway during that time period. But if you went down the wrong way because your supermarket had those arrows,
right,
and you were going down the wrong way. Now think about this. And I didn't care. I would just, went down the direction I was going to go in anyway. Just think about this. They opened up certain hours for elderly people. Now, I don't consider myself to be an elderly people, but I did turn 70 a few weeks ago. So I guess I might fit that category.
All in your mind, John. All in your mind.
So, yeah, I know. So they say, okay, so if you're over 55 or whatever, you can come in during these certain hours. That basically so other people don't give you any, okay. But they didn't change the arrows. So if you're an elderly person and you have a little trouble walking, you still have to go all the way down one aisle and turn around and then come all the way back down the other one. That was, to me, that was stupid. And because they're elderly people, a lot of them would grumble if you're going the wrong way. They go, you're going the wrong way, all this, right? Well, I'm going down one day and this woman's coming the other way. And I thought, oh gosh, I don't need to hear this, because she was looking at me already. She stopped me.
Right.
And I thought,
wrong way.
I don't want to, this is like 6 o'clock in the morning too, and they got things in the aisle. They're still stocking the shelves and they expect the old people to maneuver around all this stuff,
Sure.
And I stopped and I looked at her and I thought I should probably say something. I looked at her and I said, I'm really sorry. I must be going the wrong way. She goes, yeah, that's all right. She goes, I was going the wrong way too. Let me tell you what I do. I said, what's that? She goes, just turn your cart around and go backwards. I said, make like you missed something, like you walked past it, then just go back and find it on the shelf. And I started laughing and she's laughing.
Oh.
But it was just to me, I called it a stupid market because they had us doing crazy things.
Yeah.
And, so, but it is a fun.
I never did that early in the morning. So I don't know.
I didn't mind because, I had a couple of older people in the family and they would place their orders online and they couldn't get what they wanted, or they got, the people that picked out the things, if you picked out bananas, they were almost half ripe already, and those kind of things. But I had a supermarket that was open 24/7, except for Sunday night. They were open 24/7. Oh yeah. So I'd get up, and I'm usually up early anyway. I'd get up 4 o'clock. I'd get up 4 o'clock in the morning. Boom, I'd go shopping. And then I'd wait a little bit, and then I'd bring them their groceries, things like that. So that was fun. But it was, to me, it's a lot of loaded with funny things, because you even had the people that stocking shelves. Like, they didn't wear their mask. They'd have it pulled down. And when they saw you coming down the aisle, they pulled their mask up.
Yes.
And I didn't care, because they pulled their mask up. I pulled my mask down.
And that is funny. Yeah.
And they say, you're supposed to have your, oh yeah. So, but there's just those kind of crazy things. And then there's, nobody there who can make a decision, of course,
No.
It was just, to me, if you can laugh at anything, you can laugh at everything. And if you can laugh at everything, nothing's going to bother you.
And I love that. That's what that's what I really like about you, is how you made the class fun, but your sense of humor with everything, because you do that. And especially, I know with like metaphors and stuff with words, you find there's double meanings in words. I don't know if you can give an example of that, a story.
There's always something going on when people ask it, when people ask questions, or they make like, they first of all, they start with, and people who know me, they know I'm going to do this, so they already start laughing.
Right.
So someone in the class would say, I have a question. And I say, great, what's your question? And then they start saying, well, let me explain something. I go, no. I don't want to hear all the problems. I don't want to hear all your excuses. I don't want to hear all your bull crap. What's your question? And they say, well, but I have to tell you all the stuff first. I go, no, you don't. Trust me. Believe me, if I need to know something, I will ask you. So I want to know what your question is. No, you don't understand. I have to tell you these things. I said, I'm not your mother. I'm not your father. I'm not your counselor,
That's great.
And then, but there's always something, because when people first come out and make their first statements, or their first question, the way they phrase their questions, there's always something in there. And I don't mean to say you can make fun of, but you can make fun of. And the reason why we would do this is to get them to laugh at themselves.
Yes, not take things so seriously, right? And that's what I learned. It's so true, because everything has a different meaning to everyone. And so really it's neutral. A lot of the words, if you can not, of course, it gets into attaching the experiences, and that's what we do with NLP and all that. But if you can look at it differently, and
you can laugh at the problem, it's more easily solved. You can solve it easily if you can laugh at it. That's the whole thing. That's what I do with my mom. I had her laugh at that one thing. She was thinking, ever since I lost your father. I said, no, you haven't. The first time, yes. But humans do these things. Listen to. We have these things in our language called ambiguities,
Yes.
And that was one of them. Like that was we would call a phonological ambiguity. When my mom said, I lost your father, I'm thinking, lost him what? I said this in a supermarket once, because I was looking for my wife. We were in there together, and I couldn't find Kathleen. And I'm looking around going like this. So I was like, can I help you? I said, no, I don't know. I said, I lost my wife. And they go, oh, I'm so sorry. And I said, no, I lost her in the store someplace here. I don't mean I lost my wife.
Exactly.
And that's the same phonological ambiguity. But then we have so many of them that we use. The words that sound the same could be spelled the same and even spelled differently. And they're funny. Because you don't know how someone's going to take the word. That's one way of doing it. Then there's the other ones that are funny, like there are some called scope ambiguity. People, you've heard these in jokes, but people do this all the time. They don't say like the jokes all the time. They're not aware they're saying it. I shot an elephant in my pajamas. Now, who was in their pajamas? Was it the guy who did the shooting of the elephant, or was it the elephant who was wearing the guy's pajamas?
Right.
But you don't know how they're going to take that. So you got to be ready for any response to it. But people say these things all the time where you're not sure what they mean. When they do that to us, we play on it, because then they're going to laugh at themselves.
Yeah. And to be mindful of that. Yeah, that's so key. And I'll do that now in writing, because I've been writing a lot.
Mhm.
And I'll think, oh, wow, this could mean two things. And it's
Good.
really kind of helped me, right? Yeah. So
Yep.
I'll say, wait a minute, I really need to clarify this
Yep.
and go back.
No, I wouldn't clarify it all the time. I'd leave it ambiguous.
Just leave it like that. Yeah. Yeah.
It's great,
Sometimes you
you
just
know,
do.
it's in one sense, it's great hypnotic language. Even in reading, when hypnotic doesn't mean they're going to be hypnotized by it, but it's going to get them thinking in different places in different ways. You know, you just don't know which one they're going to favor the most. But
Right.
people put this together naturally in their language. It's not even anything we design. You know, it's not something we came up with. You know, Richard and John discovered these things by working with these other people who were great at helping people change.
Mm.
And they played on those things, those ambiguities. You know, I mean, and there are different kinds of ambiguity, but they're all about humor. If you listen to, I teach people, they go, how do I know? Listen, I'll tell you what. People will go, you got really good comedians, okay? And there's a joke between humor and jokes. Jokes poke fun at people and have a punchline, basically. You know, they poke fun at people, races,
Right.
sexes, you know, all this other stuff, and politicians. But I tell people it's okay to tell jokes about politicians because they're not really people. But the humorists, the people who do humor with language, one of my all-time favorites is George Carlin.
Oh, yeah.
And he played on language, you know. He said, you know, like, you know, here, I'm at the airport here. Okay, it's time to get on the plane. I don't want to get on the plane. I want to get in the plane. Now, some people think, well, that's okay. That's not that funny. It's crazy funny. Some of the things we see on political advertisements are funny because you don't know exactly what they're meaning to say. If you learn if you learn to laugh at whatever, you know, billboards are the craziest things. Billboard advertising, because you know the advertisers are onto these things. They've been onto them now for at least good 10 years. So
Yeah, no,
learn to laugh.
Yeah, well, and it, like I said, or like you were saying, it changing your perspective and not taking it seriously will also improve your life because you don't stress as much. I mean, there's so much that goes with that, and you can stay more calm and you're more resilient when you're looking at things differently.
Yep. The only downside, and it's not really a downside, but the only downside I could actually say, if it is one, is some people don't appreciate my sense of humor all the time, but I don't care.
No, why should you?
No, I'm not going to.
Yeah, no, I know you don't.
Why do you think you're funny? I said, I don't think I'm funny. Other people think I'm funny.
Uh-huh.
I just think I'm saying some things because I want to see what happens with the response.
Right.
But I don't think I'm a comedian. People say, well, you're really funny. I go, well, then I am funny or I'm not funny. Make up your mind. Which one is it? Then they start laughing because they realize they caught themselves. Richard is the craziest, funniest one.
Really funny, but you guys are so sharp, and that's what it is. You're so sharp with your minds that, you know, you can just, you know, come up with these things, and it's like, wow, I can't do that, you know, or, you know, people think, and you know what, it's clever, and
well, yeah, anybody can do it. I'm going to say that anybody can do it. If you mentioned focus, okay?
Yeah,
our focus is people go inside and talk to themselves about things. And that's the worst place to be going if you want to be a happy person, unless you're going to go and say really good things to yourself. But I don't know many people who do that. They go in, they criticize themselves. We don't do that.
Yes.
And when I might go in and criticize myself after class, go, well, that was stupid. I should have never said that one. Well, that was crazy. But when we're teaching and we're in front of an audience or group of people, our focus is on the group, on the audience, or on the person we're dealing with. Mm-hmm. We stay out of our head.
Yes.
You know. You won't see us go in and go, what do I do here? I mean, that doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. We've trained ourselves to stay outside because that's where all the information is. That it's gonna give you. It's out there. It's not in here. I don't have the answers. I have questions. I don't have answers. If you have a question, right. I don't have the answer all the time. You know, I might have some kind of a solution to help you to get to your answer, and that's what I want to do. But it's very rare. It's very rare if I actually give an answer. And Richard will do it. Once in a while, we might do it too. He might say, well, just stop talking to yourself. And that'll get another conversation about, what are you talking about? You go, you just talk to yourself. What did you say in there? And I go, oh, did you hear me? I go, yeah, I heard. I didn't hear him. I go, yeah, I heard you. But say it out here so everyone else can hear you. What did you actually say in there? And we teach them, even if they want to say that, whatever it is, to change the voice. Use a Mickey Mouse voice if you want. Notice how that changes, because there's no point in beating yourself up. I don't get
That's right. That's right. And that's a great one. I love that, to change, it into a character, or what your mind is thinking, because what, there's no need for dwelling and hashing on, rehashing those thoughts.
When I was young, I don't tell everybody this now. I went to grammar school. I told you I went to Catholic school.
Right.
My parents thought that was a good place for me to go, because you get a good education. I did get a good education, I got to say. And when I must have been in the very lower grades, I had a cousin of mine, a little older than me, of course, a lot older actually. And I thought of him as like almost like a mentor. He would come and say, he would take me to the football game and blah 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 and chat blah blah. And I said to him, he said to me, how do you like school? I said, that's okay, but the nuns, they holler at you all the time, they're not very nice to you all the time, things like that. And he said, oh yeah, he said, but did you ever notice how they look like giant penguins? And I cracked up, just like you did. I cracked up. And he said, don't go telling everybody this. That's why I haven't said anything to anybody, probably.
Right.
But I remembered every time I'd go to class, I'd start to giggle. Every time I saw a nun, I'd start to giggle.
So they weren't so intimidating anymore.
It changed.
Right.
It changed.
Right. Right. So that's, and that's the thing. And we're allowed to do that. You don't go around talking about it, but we're allowed to do that in our minds. They're our minds. We can do whatever we want. Yep. Well, this has been wonderful. And do you have a favorite class, John?
A favorite class?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. They're all favorite. They really are all favorite classes. When the people come to the seminars, they're just so enthusiastic. They really want to learn what they can learn, and that fuels me up. And Richard too. Every now and then, Richard will say before we start a class, he'll be on stage, got his microphone on, and he'll look at me and go, "What is this? What are we teaching? What is this class?"
Yeah.
This class is this. He goes, "Oh yeah, I don't really care for that one so much, but okay." And joking around, of course, he's always done this. I go, "Oh God, here we go." We do a bunch of them, really. We just did design human engineering, and we are going to do another one next March.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, next March. We do them twice a year in Orlando. So we do. We do persuasion. In March we do for that's
I know you're really good at.
Mostly, that's a 3-dayer. That's just a simple 3-dayer, weekender, and it's a good test. It's a good taster for people who want to see. This is something I want.
And that's only 3 days.
Yeah.
That one. Okay.
Yeah. That's good. And we have had people there who, it depends on if they're in charge of, if they're in control of how much money they can make, basically. Because in sales, it's very different. Sometimes you get salary, some of that. But if they're in control of how much they make, we've had people make sometimes even more than quadruple their income in about 6 or 8 months.
I might look at that. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, come on in. Yeah, come on.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna be back. I'm just.
I know.
Yeah, for sure. No, I love it. Can't stay away. So I will be back for sure. So, well, this has been really interesting. Thank you for all this information. I'm so happy that you're here in Florida now, and you're back in session, and just all is going well. So I know, John, that you brought a gift, and it's in the email right now, the link. Could you explain a little bit about what that is?
Sure. We're giving away a book. It's a PDF. And partly because people don't really want to buy books so much anymore, which I think is a shame. I like turning the pages myself.
Oh, I do too. I know.
Yeah. But it's a PDF, and the name of it is NLP for the World. And what it is it's because we have trainers internationally all over the world that do seminars on our behalf, because we don't go to every country. And some of them are very good. I mean, really, 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 really great trainers. These are people that are they really know what they're doing. And when it might have been around when COVID was getting going, or maybe just before that, I'm not sure. But there was definitely a problem going on out there in the universe someplace. So this is our various and different trainers. I forget how many of them. They all wrote a chapter, and in that chapter are techniques that they've used or things that they've learned that help people.
Wow.
Oh yeah. So it's not just us. It's not just
grab
us.
that quick, everyone.
And it's free. and it's free. So,
Wow, it's free. I'm going to get
share,
that.
share it with, share it with
Sure.
people. It's okay if it's,
Yeah,
even if they download it,
absolutely.
we don't care if they share it with other people, just,
That's
yeah,
great. That's
it's
great.
just,
Well,
it's,
thank you
what
for
it is.
that. That's
Yep.
wonderful. So any last parting advice for everyone
Yeah,
before we
you
go?
know, have a great life. I mean, you listen, learn to be happy. Everybody's had moments of happiness. Everybody's had days of happiness,
Mhm.
because it's your brain. It's your brain. It's not anybody else's brain. And learn how to run your own brain.
Mm,
One of the things we like to tell people is if you don't learn to run your own brain, other people are going to continue to do it for you.
that's
It's,
right.
it's that simple. And if that's
Right.
been going on, if that's been going on for all your life, learn to run it yourself. Um, Learn to run your own brain. It's not as difficult as people think it is.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
Go
Train
for
your
it. Just go
brain.
for it. Don't no hesitating. People hesitate. Wait. They go, well, I've been hesitating. I go, then just jump, man. Just jump over the line. What do
Right.
just jump over the line.
Right. Right.
Well, what's the worst that can happen? Nothing. Worst that can happen is you change your life, probably. So,
Exactly. And
you
always
know,
for the better. Don't let other people control you. And
no, definitely not.
right,
I love, I
forgive
love,
and yeah.
I love that titling in your coaching is never settle.
Right, right. Never.
Never
And
settle.
I know that's why I love this. It's like everybody needs to, to have this. Everybody could benefit and never settle. Like, why stay the way you are in your brain? You know what? It gets to be in evolving always.
Yep.
And I think NLP is a wonderful way to do that. So
Yep.
yeah, I'm thrilled. Well, thank you so much,
Thank you.
John. This has been awesome. And
Thank you so much, Karen.
yeah, great having you here. And thank you all for listening. And we'll be back next time. Bye for now.
Bye,
Thanks,
everybody.
John.
Bye
Bye-bye.
now.